I'm on my lunch break, and I thought I would use this time to tell a quick story about what's probably my favorite camera I've ever owned, the Fujifilm X-T2. The X-T2 was my first nice camera that I bought with my own money. A few years before I had the X-T2, I was gifted a DSLR camera, but I felt like I started to outgrow that and wanted something nicer. So I landed on the X-T2, and I think I was originally just drawn to it because it looks awesome. I used that camera for, gosh, 7 years total, I think. For the first 3 or 4 years of me having it, I used the X-T2 exclusively. Um, it was before I started using cameras professionally, so it was a camera that I just had a lot of fun with. Just it was all play and experimentation and learning. I would take it with me everywhere I went, um, literally everywhere. Just even if I was going to a restaurant or something, I would have it on me because it was so small and easy to carry around with that the 23 f2 on it, and it was just a joy to shoot with. But I started transitioning out of photography more into video. And at first I used the X-T2 for video, and it was fine, but I just felt like it was really starting to limit me. So that's when I started using Blackmagic cameras, and then from there I got the Komodo. So because of my transition from photography to video, I just kind of stopped using it less and less over time. Um, but there was a trip I had to Liberia a few years ago, and for that trip I was going to take both stills and video. So I had my Komodo with me, and then I had the X-T2. And everything was going great. We went out to a piece of property, and a monsoon rolled in on us. I have never experienced rain like that before in my life. It was pretty insane. I mean, it was so bad. I only had a few seconds to react. Um, at the time, I had my Komodo in my hand, and I had my X-T2 in the backpack, which is a Peak Design backpack. Shout out to Peak Design because their backpacks are awesome, and it saved my Komodo. For this trip, I was traveling super light, so I had a bunch of my personal stuff in the bottom of the backpack, and then in the top, I was just using that as storage for whichever camera I wasn't using. Unfortunately, I did not have room for both cameras. The Komodo is more expensive, and the X-T2 has weather sealing. So I was like, okay, gonna pop the Komodo in there, and hopefully the X-T2 can just ride this out. I was like trying to tuck it under my shirt a little bit, and I mean, by the time we hiked out of the property, it looked like we had jumped into a swimming pool with our clothes on, and I was, pretty worried that my camera had received some damage in that, and unfortunately, that was the case. I got back to the place we were staying at, let the camera dry out, and wiped it off, and I turned it on, and it turned on, but it was just acting really funny, and like the screen was doing crazy stuff, and I was like, yeah, water definitely got in there. Turned it off and just left it until I got home from the trip. And then from there, it just wouldn't even turn on, unfortunately. So I didn't know what to do with it. I sat on it for like half a year, I was like, I'm gonna sell it for parts on eBay. And so I sold it. This guy bought it, who on his page has a bunch of other camera stuff that he's sold. So I was like, oh, maybe he's like gonna repair it or something. So I reached out to him, just curious. Like a couple weeks later, I was like, hey man, were you planning on fixing the camera yourself? If so, how did that go? And he was like, yeah, man. Oh, it was super easy. All I had to do was clean off a couple electronic components where there was a little bit of corrosion, and it was fine. Turned on, and it's working completely fine. So that kind of sucks, because if I would have known that, I could have just got it repaired. But I thought it was toast. So I had that camera for 7 years. I love that camera. And after 2 years of not having it, I really started to miss it. So that's why I now have another Fuji camera. It's not an X-T, but it's a 106. I went with the 106 because the whole time I owned the X-T2, the only lens I had on it was the 23 f2. It's like, well, if I can get the same thing with the lens built in and it's a little bit smaller, that would be pretty sweet. So yeah, that's my story about the death and resurrection of my X-T2. A great camera. That's all I have to say about that. I hope this was somewhat entertaining. Thank you very much. Bye.